Monrovia, 1990. The city was tired, completely tired. Smoke in the air, gunshots every night, children sleeping under beds, adults praying that the fight will not reach their streets this night. The war had chased almost everybody indoors, and the truth was painful. Nobody expected help. Not from America, not from the UN, not from anywhere. Then one morning, people at the port started screaming, "Ship they come, ship they come." At first, nobody believed it. Who is coming? Then the ships got closer, and people realized something surprising. These were not foreign soldiers from some far country. These were West Africans. ECOMOG, the Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group. On paper, it was a peacekeeping force created by ECOWAS leaders in 1990. In reality, it was pushed heavily by Nigeria's military ruler at that time, General Ibrahim Babangida. He had told other West African presidents, "We cannot sit and watch Liberia burn." So they formed this new force in a meeting in Banjul, the Gambia, and they sent it straight into the middle of Liberia's civil war. No perfect plan, no notice, just go and try and stop the killing. Nigerian boots hit the ground first, Ghanaian soldiers forming lines, Guinean troops trying to set up checkpoints, Gambian soldiers guarding the port, a few women in uniform and scrubs running straight to the wounded with bandages in their hands, trying their best. The equipment, they were not perfect. The trucks were old. Some of the tanks looked like they needed a bit of prayer, but these people came anyway, and their mission was simple. This war will not swallow this city today. From that first day, it was clear that this was not normal peacekeeping. ECOMOG, they had to fight their way into Monrovia. They were not walking into some calm ceasefire, no. They were entering an active war with different rebel groups, child soldiers, a president that had already lost control. And Charles Taylor's forces, they saw ECOMOG as the enemy, so they attacked them from the very beginning. Ambushes, mortar fire, snipers, but ECOMOG kept pushing, street by street, house by house. They created small safe zones anywhere that they could defend. Churches, schools, open fields where displaced people could just breathe for a moment. In some neighborhoods, the only reason why people slept through the night was because an ECOMOG checkpoint was close by. But Liberia was not a short mission. ECOMOG, they stayed there for about 7 years. In that time, the number of soldiers kept growing. At one point, there were about 12,000 ECOMOG troops in Liberia. Out of that, roughly 10,000 were Nigerians. So when people say ECOMOG, the truth is that it was mostly Nigeria carrying the load. And the price was heavy. Nigeria later admitted that it lost at least 500 soldiers in Liberia, spent billions in dollars. That's not counting the ones who came back home with missing limbs or the ones who came back alive but not quite the same. Because, some soldiers returned with injuries that you could see. Others returned with injuries that nobody could see. Nightmares, panic, sudden anger, silence. They had seen things that they would never be able to explain to their families, And another truth, ECOMOG, they were not angels. Some soldiers, they looted. Some took sides. Some made terrible mistakes that Liberians still talk about today. People even created a dark joke. ECOMOG means every car or movable object gone. Because some of these peacekeepers were accused of taking cars, fuel, even factory equipment. So you had this confusing picture, right? ECOMOG, they were saving lives in one moment and they were causing frustration in another. By 1997, Liberia was tired. Completely just done. The factions agreed to hold elections, and even though Charles Taylor had fought ECOMOG for years, he won the election easily. It was mostly because people feared him. They were like, if we don't put him up there in power, this war will never end. After Taylor took office, ECOMOG began to withdraw. But the story was not over, because while Liberia was trying to calm down, another country was catching fire, Sierra Leone. In 1997, soldiers in Sierra Leone, they overthrew the elected president, Armand Tejan Kaba. They joined forces with the RUF rebels, the same rebels known for cutting off hands and limbs, you know the story, burning villages, kidnapping children. ECOWAS, they looked at Sierra Leone and they said, not again. This time, Nigeria's new military ruler, General Sani Abacha, he pushed ECOWAS to use force and return the president to power. So again, they called ECOMOG, Nigerian troops, Guinean troops, Ghanaian troops, plus a smaller number from Mali. They entered Sierra Leone, and in early 1998, they fought their way into Freetown and they brought the president back into power. At its peak in Sierra Leone, ECOMOG had about 13,000 soldiers. Out of that, around 12,000 were Nigerians. So again, Nigeria was carrying the mission almost alone. Sierra Leone's war was even more brutal in some ways. In January of 1999, rebels stormed Freetown again. They came with fire, they came with rage, they burned houses, attacked civilians, filled the city with fear. ECOMOG had to fight street to street, sometimes not even sure who was a rebel and who was a civilian trying to run. When the smoke finally cleared, Freetown was still standing, and ECOMOG was the reason that it did not completely fall. After that, the United Nations, they finally stepped in with a large peacekeeping mission. Many ECOMOG troops, they stayed on under the UN. The UN helped to finish the job, and Sierra Leone slowly found peace again. In the middle of all of this, ECOMOG still had one more assignment: Guinea-Bissau. A smaller crisis, but still dangerous. A military mutiny had turned into a civil conflict, so ECOWAS sent ECOMOG again. This time made up of troops from countries like Benin, Niger, and Togo. It wasn't as long or as loud as Liberia and Sierra Leone, but it showed one thing. Anytime West Africa was burning, ECOMOG was the one running into the fire. And behind the uniform, there were real people. Most of these soldiers were young West Africans, early 20s, some even teenagers, suddenly sent into war that they did not start. Many of them died in countries far from home. Some were buried in unmarked graves. Some came back home with their injuries, and the government didn't fully care for them. Some came back alive but traumatized. It was a difficult time. Today, some ECOMOG veterans are retired in their hometowns. Some are taxi drivers. Some run small shops. Some are still in the military, now wearing the UN helmets in places like Mali and Congo. And yes, a few of them were women. Nurses, doctors, radio operators, communication officers. They walked through blood, chaos, danger without getting the recognition that they deserved. And when you ask people about ECOMOG today, the answers are mixed. Some say, ECOMOG saved us. Others say, ECOMOG caused so many problems for us. And both sides are right in their own way. Because ECOMOG was not one thing. It was thousands of different soldiers making thousands of different decisions in the most stressful situation possible. But one thing is clear. When the rest of the world was moving slowly, holding meetings, analyzing reports, West Africa created its own force, used its own soldiers, spent its own money, and said, if we wait for somebody else, we will burn. Let's do it ourselves. That force was the Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group, ECOMOG. And whether you see them as heroes, troublemakers, or somewhere in between, they changed the history of war and peace in West Africa forever. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like videos like this, please follow me. I tell these stories all the time on all my social media. Thank you.